before we start, can I just take a moment just to, not often I get a chance to announce things, but the club are keen for me to announce that we've just broken our membership record and just ticked over 63,000. So just want to express how grateful we are to all our Bulldogs members, rusted on red, white and blue people far across the land. So thank you very much for your great support. You make us all feel extremely good about ourselves. We're very grateful, so thank you.
There's plenty to play for tonight, obviously, and the way you rose to that challenge tonight must have been absolutely wrapped with your team's performance.
Yeah, absolutely nothing to be unhappy about tonight. I think, if I had asked you how you describe our players, our team, our club throughout the course of the year, I think we've been pretty honest. Our players keep fronting up and giving their all. We understand the criticism around not necessarily being able to eke our way, further up the ladder and beating some teams above us. We get that. We've just got to own up to all of that. But along the way, there hasn't been a game we haven't been really thankful that the players have put in and done their best and everything. They tried to get everything out of themselves, and tonight was another one that the application was there right across the 23 players, and obviously a terrific start. And we, the cold hard fact says that we need to keep winning. So it's one down and a handful to go.
Must be wrapped with how that double prong of Norton and Darcy's going in the round 2 weeks in a row. They've just really torn backlines apart, haven't they?
Yeah, they're big threats, aren't they? And minimising their opportunities. I think they only had 18 inside 50s up till half time. It's a pretty good way to play. Whereas on the flip side, we were getting the ball in, giving our key forwards looks, and in open field, the likes of Lockie McNeil, the Caleb Poulters and Rolly West creating down there didn't necessarily hit the scoreboard like he has, but he was pretty selfless and unselfish tonight, I think, with what he did with his ball use, and so they're pretty hard to contend with. We felt we got some rewards through the fact that the Giants were concerned about our key forwards, and then it opened up some things for some other players.
Luke, you were disappointed a couple of weeks ago after the Brisbane game with the inconsistency with your team defence. By quarter time tonight, you had 5 goals from turnover, and the pressures seemed to be really, really good. How did you rate that area tonight?
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to process how different the games are. I mean, we only had a tick over 30-odd tackles tonight. What had happened was probably more the Adelaide game. Our tackling and our pressure game and how we dealt with Adelaide's pressure wasn't anywhere near to the standard we'd like. And then we turned up to the Gabba and we were pretty good in that aspect. So it was probably the week before that we were disappointed in. Obviously we came late against the Lions and couldn't quite get there. But that was an example of what I was saying earlier around the honesty and the perseverance in our games. It's been there. We've fallen short, but we definitely haven't turned up our toes. So it was probably the week before that I was a bit concerned about. But, to the players, the boys' credit off the back of, those 2 games against 2 teams who, are definitely going to be playing finals, you'd think. We came out empty-handed and feeling a bit of a void. So to reload, play pretty well the last couple of weeks, get a bit of momentum going again, it's been important.
Internally, Bevo, did you build this up as a final? Because externally, that's how it was built up.
No, not really. I couldn't do that. We needed to strike a balance, Josh, because we couldn't tense up. We needed to make sure that the players played with the freedom, and it's critical we remind ourselves of what our strengths have been. Obviously, one of those is our ability to hit the scoreboard, and that's through a number of factors. It's the stoppage, our possession game, turnover games improved. We've let ourselves down in some of the games against some of the flighty our opposition with turnovers in our back half that's given momentum back to teams that you shouldn't give it to. Tonight was a night where we didn't really have, I think, any blatant turnovers in our back half, so we were quite measured and composed with the ball. So struck a balance, but we definitely walked out, I think, on an edge, understanding some of the history between the two teams, and then that meant that the players were ready for the start of it, and yeah, it was a pretty healthy scoreboard at quarter time.
Luke, from the coaching perspective, you must have been delighted to be able to put that in vogue, the defensive element of the game, because that was the area you're alluding to that had been frustrating. But to turn into 10 goals from turnover tonight, that's a big number considering what had been going back in previous times.
Yeah, I think our back 6 or 7 have been beat up a little bit with the critique of them and the emerging players and the evolution of that line alone. But we all take ownership of that, because ultimately you need your midfield group and your forward group to contribute to your defensive system. And I think everyone stepped that up a little bit. As I've said before and after games, there are some levers we're pulling to make sure we tighten it up a little bit. Some of that's just simply decision-making off ball and how much we value that phase of the game. And I think tonight we were pretty good at it. It was an improvement, obviously, to keep a pretty threatening forward line to that score, but also to limit our exposure there and keeping them out of their 50. It's a pretty good way to play if you can do it.
And the dominance of Tim English around the ground once again tonight really showed that he's continuing on this brilliant form in the second part of the season.
Yeah, Tim, he definitely was a threat. He got forward and he got on the end of some. He probably left it 1 or 2 out there, so it could have been quite a prolific game for him. But yeah, I think as the game wore on and he got behind and intercepted as well, he's probably had one of his more influential performances for the year, even though he's been really sturdy for us.
You mentioned obviously restricting the Giants forward line. I think it was plus 52 for contested ball tonight. You must have just been absolutely delighted with that figure.
Yeah, sometimes we're angels fear to tread. You can't second guess yourself in this game. Not that we have throughout the course of the year, but I felt any disputed ball that needed to be won. There was a great commitment at ground level and in the air. We gave away some free kicks in the air as the game went on, but there's no question that our players are absolutely committed to that big challenge in the game, which never goes away, but the best teams are prepared to, as much as the risk is there, to put their bodies on the line, and the boys really did that tonight.
And just the performance of Caleb Poulter, I know he got subbed out late, but I thought in the first 40 minutes he was just like one of the more influential players on the ground, and by the time, when you went through the second quarter, the game was pretty much over and he had a big part in that, didn't he?
Yeah, he's probably, to be frank, he didn't need to come off, but we Latham, it's his second week as a sub, and we felt like we needed to give him a run. And just in the scheme of things, we had some role players in the mode we were in, and he was playing as a pure forward pulse, so it was more convenient that we didn't disrupt everything else to take him off and put Latham on. So he's probably a bit stiff. He would have wanted to stay out there, but no, he was a solid contributor.
Time to get rid of the sub rule?
Well, I know everyone's talking about it as Swanee tries to just take everything in and make some decisions. I think one of the things I will say, whatever decision we make in regards to the interchange bench and the substitute, we've got to also reconcile how many interchange numbers we get to. I think it needs to go up. I don't think it can come down, not with the nature of our game. If the quarters are even a bit shorter, if the game's shortened by 5 or so minutes because we're concerned that it's blown out, perhaps you don't even need to use them as much. But I think if we get rid of the actual sub, if we stick with 5, you're probably not going to interchange 5 players at a time. I mean, I feel sorry for the girls. You know, the women's game, they've got 5 on the bench. And, you know, in a shortened game, they don't really need 5. So with our game, if we get rid of the sub and we've got 5, we've got to think about what the interchange cap is. I think it should go back out. That's my 2, Bob.
How did you assess Lockie McNeil and Riley Garcia? They really worked hard, particularly in that second term after the domination of the first team, because the sort of mode of the game changed when you wanted to play a little bit slower and a little bit different after the first quarter.
Yeah, it's a difficult night to individualise. They were solid contributors, including, you know, Riley Sanders and Joel Frazier too. You know, like the next tier of players who are performing roles, Bailey Williams and Oscar Baker. You know, these lads who don't necessarily get the, I suppose, the acknowledgement, have the notoriety that others do. It's pretty solid right across the board. I thought you could pick your way through our back 6 or 7 too. It was the boys hopefully will sleep pretty content tonight that they've made solid contributions.
Big final 3 weeks coming up, obviously, for the club. But how do you approach it? Do you sort of take a week-by-week approach, or is it just like, you know, we're all in kind of thing? Yeah,
similar to tonight, Ronnie. I mean, it is that cliche about just the next opponent. We've got Melbourne at the G on a Sunday, which is a fair way away now. So we've got a lot of time to think about it, which is not always a good thing. The plus is that we get a chance to train, maybe refine 1 or 2 things again. But we know that, you know, they'll play between now and then, and they'll be stinging after last week, and they're still a very dangerous team, and so we've got to be ready for that one. And we really don't look much further.